What is going on, everyone? This is Angus of Boss Fitness coming to you live from my room, my party pad. Super excited to be sharing with you some knowledge bombs today, and the reason why I'm super stoked about this particular video is because it's where I get to bust some myths. In other words, separating fact from fiction so that you that's watching, the lovely viewer, can gain some extra hindsight, some extra clarity and some extra certainty as to what is legit, what is not, what is truth and what is bro science. So in your sort of perspective, get excited, strap in and get excited for some amazing knowledge and for some laughs along the way. I'm going to be being raw, I'm going to be being real, I'm going to be sharing from experience. Obviously it's up to you if you take this as biblical or not, but this is stuff that I've packed and collected and pieced together from my years of being within the industry, from stuff that I've experienced within my own personal transformation, and just all sorts of general insight. What I'd encourage you to do is to either tune in for the entire video, or feel free to actually skip ahead to different parts of the video so that you can tune in to specific myths that are related to your personal part in the journey currently. Or what you can actually do is just tune in and go with the flow. Understand this is going to be a two-part video series. So in other words, there's quite a lot of myths that I want to be busting. So stay tuned for the next video, or if you're someone who is just tuning into this because you've seen the second video, well, hey, get excited for more knowledge bombs, and hopefully I'm not going to blow your mind too crazily. Let's get stuck into it. Righty-o, so first one that we're going to be focusing on is don't keep your trigger foods in the cupboard or in the house to solve your binge eating problem. So this one's a simple one. What I'd encourage you to do instead is, rather than doing that, I don't think that actually solves your problem whatsoever. What's going to be a far better way to go about it is to actually have a strategy in place that allows you to include that stuff that you typically binge on and eat it on a daily basis. So let's say, for example, that you know how much energy your body requires on a daily basis, i.e., for example, 1900 calories. I'd suggest to pre-log ahead into MyFitnessPal what you'd want to have for dessert, maybe about 200 to 300 calories worth. So it might be a couple of rows of chocolate or a few Tim Tams or whatever. Pre-log it, and then for the rest of the day use up the intake that's left over, and that way you know that at the end of the day you're going to be able to eat those few Tim Tams or those couple of blocks of chocolate. This is something that I actually did personally for a very long time and still do, and I applied that to any food that I had an emotional attachment to, and in doing so, ta-da! I no longer binge eat on those things, because as the saying goes, what you crave, you'll crave what you tell yourself you can't have. So if you come from a mindset of just like, I can fit anything in, I can eat anything as long as it fits, well then ta-da, this is going to be something that's sustainable and realistic in the long run, that will allow you to keep that relationship up with food in a sustainable manner, and therefore no longer have that restrictive mindset about those particular foods. Busted. Next one is don't eat after 7 p.m. Because that food will be stored as body fat. So understand that your body doesn't really have a clock that's going on inside that, accustoms to what time you're eating things. In other words, it doesn't really matter if you eat at nighttime. Me, for myself, for example, I actually eat the most of my food at nighttime when it's chill out time and I've finished up work for the day. Yeah. So understand that it doesn't really matter about meal timing. Eat your meals when you want to, that fits within your lifestyle and that allows you to perform the way that you need to and gives you energy to undertake the different tasks and stuff that that you go through on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, if you aren't having energy and stuff when you need to, well then what I'd probably suggest is to eat at those sort of times when you do need the most energy. But then also maybe what you could do is stay tuned into the actual quality of what you are choosing, because chances are you might need some more nutrients amongst what it is that you're eating. But either way, I understand that there's nothing wrong with having a good old meal at night time, even if it includes carbs, even if it is ice cream or whatever, it does not matter. Busted. Next one is you must consume protein 30 minutes after a workout. This is something that I used to hammer and believe big time when I was in my early lifting days. In other words, right after a workout, I would head straight to the drink fountain, load up my my shaker with water, shake it up, and then drink it before I even got to the car, and then driving to work. Understand that it does not matter when you take in your protein after completing a workout. As the saying goes, apparently your muscles would go catabolic if you don't get in enough protein right after a workout. But understand that it doesn't actually really matter when you get it in, as long as it suits your lifestyle when you choose to get it in, okay? Me and myself, for example, currently when filming this video, I work out first thing in the morning. My workout is usually completed and done before 7 or 8 o'clock, and I don't actually eat my first meal until about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock most days, okay? So go figure, busted. Next one is eating carbs makes you fat. This is one that is, such a bummer, because think about it, if you weren't able to eat carbs, would your life really be exciting? Probably not, because most of us really love carbs, and the fact is that it's in almost everything, especially with the modern Western sort of diet, with how it currently rolls. Understand that the only way that you're going to get fat is if you consume more calories than what your body requires. So in other words, by including a decent amount of those calories from carbohydrates, ta-da, you will not gain body fat if you're eating at a calorie deficit, and it's relevant towards where your body is at currently. Eating carbs, there's nothing wrong with them. Understand that it gets broken down as energy at the end of the day, and your body will use that energy for just day-to-day sort of tasks. Understand that the carbs that are more sort of complex sort of base and have more nutrients, this will take your body longer to break it down through the digestive process. Other side of things though, if it's a refined sort of carb, understand that it's not going to have much nutrients, therefore your body will break it down pretty fast, and therefore you're not going to feel full for very long. So the myth that carbs will make you fat is busted. Next one is lifting in a fasted state will damage your muscles. Understand that this is not the case either. Whether you have got fuel in your system, in other words, a pre-workout meal in the sort of body before you work out, or if it's just entirely fasted and all you've had is water or some coffee, maybe, you're not going to kill and lose your muscles. Understand the only way that your body will lose muscle mass is if you give them a reason to. And usually what this reason is because people undereat far too much. If you are in a continuous state of undereating, meaning that you're in a very restrictive caloric deficit of energy, what this will then mean is that your body is going to start losing muscle. Obviously, yes, it will drop a bit of fat, but it will start losing muscle to support its own survival during this process, okay? So just because you didn't eat for your workout doesn't mean that you're going to drop muscle because you chose to do so. Me, for example, I don't usually ever eat before a workout. Most of what I'll do is have a long black or an espresso of coffee before a workout. Sometimes here and there a pre-workout, but aside from that, I find that I function best in a fasted state. If you know though that you are someone that functions a lot better with food in the system, well then go for it, okay? Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to sustainability and you being able to continue what supports your lifestyle, makes you most happy and allows you to perform optimally in the gym. Myth busted. Next one is going ketogenic is the way to go for faster fat loss. So the whole keto diet is something that's becoming very popular at the moment. Same deal as paleo and things like that. But focusing on keto, what it basically is a means to really reduce your intake of carbohydrates, but then compensating from that, for that with other fruits and vegetables and other macronutrient sources. So yes, this is cool. Obviously, going keto can cause you to lose body fat. But understand that comes with the con that is you not being able to eat carbs, or a very minimal amount of carbs. And as we know, carbs are something that tastes goddamn yum, and which is in a lot of food. So if you go in keto, it's going to make it hard for you and restrict your food choices to quite an extent. Obviously, yes, some people, thrive in this sort of area and actually function better with a reduced amount of carbs. And if that's the case, cool. But if you know your body and you know that you don't function very well on low carbs, well then make the cut and decide not to do the keto thing, okay? Understand that there's nothing magical about it just because you're going keto, okay? Understand that what creates fat loss is being in a calorie deficit, not whether you go keto or paleo or on a specific diet or whatever, okay? Stay true to the fundamentals and choose a means that's going to allow you to have a functional lifestyle and get the most out of every single day. Myth busted. The next myth is focusing on lifting makes women look like muscular men. In other words, lifting weights gets you bulky. Understand this is not the case, all right? When it comes to lifting weights, what this will basically do is induce resistance to the muscles and therefore promote wear and tear. This is something that you want regardless of if you are a male or if you're a female. because what's going on here is that this is causing so much wear and tear and overload upon your muscles and your system that it's consistently having to cause the body to move forward, to grow, just to replenish and meaning that because our body hates change, all it wants to do is stay the same because it's an efficiency machine. It means that it's stretching that process and causing your body to have to move forward, and therefore not adapt and stay the same. Obviously, if you're someone that's hammering out lots of cardio and things like that, well then, this is a bit of a bummer because your body's going to adapt to this sort of stuff fairly quickly and efficiently. In your sort of case, if you are a female listening to this video, please do not fear weight training. Understand that it is your best friend. What I'd highly suggest is that you get in touch with someone that can hook you up with a proper structure of weight training so that you actually are hitting your upper body and your lower body. And in doing so, what this will then do is bring about overload, and from your perspective though, it means you get stronger and fitter while getting results without having to do cardio, which, let's be honest here, is the way to go, because none of us like cardio, if we're really that honest, don't we? So in other words, don't fear getting bulky. The only way that you can get bulky from doing weight training is if your nutrition isn't on point with your training. But if you've got them both together on point, well then rest assured that you're going to be well on your way to building a tight and toned body if you've got that consistency happening in full swing. Next one is that you need to eat 5 or 6 meals per day to boost your metabolism. Understand this is not the case either. How many meals you eat per day does not matter at all. What matters overall is that your intake is consistent. So in other words, if you're eating 2,000 calories per day, as long as you're meeting that daily, your body couldn't give two hoots whether you're eating 3 meals or 2 meals or 4 meals or 6 meals to meet those targets, because at the end of the day, the digestive process is the same. Your body will always burn 10% of the energy that comes from the meals that you eat through the day. So if you do the math, this will always work out the same in terms of if you're hitting the same overall intake each day. It doesn't matter the breakdown of if that's lots of small meals or a few big meals. What I'd suggest instead is that you build for yourself a structure of meals that fits within your intake and the demands of your lifestyle best. In other words, if you know that eating breakfast each day is a bit of a chore and it's actually easier for you to skip it, well then hey, skip it. Save those calories and intake of meals for later on during the day. Or if you know that you'd rather not eat much at dinner time, well then hey, don't do that then. Eat more during the day, because that's what's going to be better suited to your lifestyle. In other words, you're not going to be any better off eating lots of small meals compared to eating a few bigger meals. In other words, make it all yours, as long as you get that consistency within your day-to-day intake. Plus, next one is breakfast is the most important meal of the day. This is false. Obviously, the notion that it comes from is that your body has been in a fasted state due to sleep. This is then where you need to eat and drink to restore the metabolism, whatever. Understand this is still quite far-fetched and not really true. The most important meal of the day really does not exist. In my opinion, what is the best way to go about it is just to make sure that the majority of your meals are coming from nutrient-dense, focused, quality food. But then most important, obviously making sure that your body is taking in a certain amount of food per day, you're being consistent with it in line with what your goals are, and therefore you're going to be able to manipulate your health and body composition accordingly. Just because you have breakfast isn't going to make or break your results compared to if you didn't eat breakfast. I haven't eaten breakfast in a good few months. My first meal of the day is usually around 1 o'clock or so. But think about it as well then. If eating first thing in the morning was the best meal of the day, what then happens towards those people that work right through it because they work at night and their first meal isn't until the afternoon? Yeah, something to think about. But myth busted, breakfast is not the most important meal of the day. Next one is high reps to tone, but lower reps to bulk. I understand this is not the case either, okay? Obviously for a woman to get tight and toned, the only way that this happens is by you actually nailing the art of fat loss, which is losing the fat that's covering your muscles underneath, okay? What I always like to provide my clients, and what I sort of teach people, is that it's great to have a mix of both in terms of going really heavy for lower reps, and then going a bit lighter for higher reps, because in doing so, what this will do is stimulate different types of muscle fibers and load your body and tax your body in a different way accordingly. And if you go through phases of, say for example, each of those strength training focus for a while, maybe power focus for a while, hypertrophy and deload focus for a while, all this sort of stuff, what this will do is turn you into more of a seasoned athlete, and then in doing so also continuously keep your body in that state of guesswork, in debt, and therefore not being able to keep up with what's happening. But understand though that as long as you're pushing yourself and you're challenging yourself in relation to the target rep scheme, you should be able to, if you're monitoring your progress, still be able to refine yourself and move forward as you build your goal physique. Me and myself, I absolutely love training in different rep schemes, and if anything, the one that I love the most is the higher volume, higher rep focused way of training. But still, it is absolutely awesome and challenging and fun to be in those phases where you're lifting super heavy and really challenging yourself for the lower reps. But that myth is busted. Let's go on to the next one. Next one is don't skip meals or your metabolism will slow down. Understand this is not true either. We touched on this on a previous one just before, but to nail it in on this one just now, understand that it doesn't matter when you have your meals or how often you have your meals or how balanced they are or whatever. What matters most and what is the king for fat loss and body composition is being consistent with your overall intake of food. If you skip meals and whatever, that does not matter, because all the thing here is just making sure that when you eat fits into your actual lifestyle. All right, so if you know that, say for example, you work 9 to 5 and eating, say, lunch for example is a chore for you, well then hey, you might have your first meal in the morning, maybe some water and drinks to keep you going through the day, but then you wouldn't eat again until you actually got home, and then you'd finish up your intake with whatever you wanted to at night. Okay, it does not matter if you skip meals, it doesn't matter about all that sort of stuff, it isn't going to affect your metabolism. You're going to be okay as long as you're consistent with getting your body how much fuel it needs on that day-to-day basis. That myth is busted. Next one is all calories aren't created equal. So the truth here is that it's the opposite. All calories are created equal. This is something that I've done extensive research into, and what you guys have got to understand, and keeping it nice and simple, is that at the end of the day, what happens is that all calories get broken down, and the body can use calories from any food source. All right, the only differentiating factor really in the scheme of things is the nutrient profile that's attached to the food source that you got it from. So in other words, nutrient rich stuff, the typical hashtag clean foods, are going to be loaded with nutrients and therefore be harder for the body to break down, and therefore that's the stuff that's going to keep you feeling fuller for longer. So happy days, this is the stuff we want more of. Then the other side of things, when it comes to the hashtag junk food, your body can still use the calories that come from this food, but understand though that it's going to have less nutrients, and therefore it's going to be easier for the body to break down, and therefore you won't feel full as long from eating it. But to say that your body can't use the calories from that processed sort of food, or that those calories aren't equal, is wrong. All right. Understand your body can use the calories from everything. So why I love the flexible lifestyle of fat loss so much is that we're able to then choose where we want to get those calories from and what foods we want to justify using it on a day-to-day basis, making sure that it fits our lifestyle and that it fuels us for happiness and performance. Myth busted. Next one is eating sugar causes fat gain. Understand this is not true either. Okay, the only thing that causes fat gain is by you giving your body too much fuel on a day-to-day basis. So in other words, if this were true, well then that would also be true for, say for example, vegetables, or eating too much insert whatever, okay? Because eating too much of anything, if it puts you into a surplus, will cause you to gain will cause you to gain body fat. Sugar though, understand, is just a carbohydrate, and your body uses carbohydrates regardless of where it's coming from. All that is, I guess, different is the fact that more nutrient dense sort of type food that has sugar will keep you feeling fuller for longer. The other side of things is that the other sort of stuff that has sugar, like say for example chocolate or ice cream or lollies or whatever, that stuff still tastes awesome, but understand that it's going to have a very low nutrient profile, so you're not going to feel full for very long. But to say that sugar causes fat gain, or that it's the cause of obesity or whatever, is just wrong. All right, myth busted. Next one is calories don't matter if you're eating clean. This one here I've heard thrown around quite a lot, and this is wrong. All right, understand that eating clean is great, yes, awesome, but what you're focusing on there is the quality of the food, not the quantity. In other words, I've seen and worked with a lot of clean eaters and vegans or whatever who've actually got themselves fat because they're just focusing on the quality of what they're putting in. What you got to understand that this is a great place to be starting your journey from. But a great way to move up from here and to boost your results and really just fine tune your aesthetics and your performance and your physique is to actually gain an awareness of how much your body needs on a day-to-day basis relevant to your goal. So in other words, if your goal is to gain muscle, your body will require a certain amount of food to be intaken on a daily basis to cause your body to go through that muscle building process. But the other side of things, if your goal is to lose body fat, understand that your body needs to be in a deficit of energy to give it a reason to let go of body fat in the way that you want it to. So in other words, just because you're eating clean doesn't mean that you've got a free ticket to eat absolutely whatever you want in any quantity. Okay, I used to think that was the case for a period of time myself. All that got me to was just gaining weight. But then the bummer there was that because I then had so much restriction attached to food, in other words, eat this, don't eat this, I would binge on the stuff that I was telling myself that I can't have. So the idea here, ask yourself, is that can you see yourself living and eating the way that you are for years to come? So in other words, if you're a clean eater and you're happy to be boxed in this little world of just only eat these foods, but all this other stuff is bad, you know, if you can see yourself living like that for years to come, awesome. But if you can't, it would be wise to reassess why you're sticking to this way and where you've actually come up with the values that you have. I hope that gives you some insight, but in terms of the myth busting whole concept, busted. Next one is don't eat fat because it will make you fat. Understand, those of you that are tuning in, understand that there's nothing wrong with consuming fat. Your body actually needs a certain amount of fat daily to be able to actually keep its hormonal productions going in full swing. What I'd suggest, maybe if you want to know in terms of how much, is usually about 0.4 grams of fat per pound of body weight. This would be a great place to start and then assess how you're feeling eating that much on a daily basis. I used to think personally that going low fat was the way to go, and all this did for me was basically do exactly that. It mucked around with my hormones. It affected my metabolism quite a bit as well. But then in saying that, eventually when I realized that fat wasn't bad and that overall energy intake matters so much, I then compensated for that with getting in a lot of extra carbs, and I've been free flowing ever since. But understand that it isn't fat that's going to make you fat. Understand once again the only way that you can actually gain weight in any capacity is giving your body too much food on a daily basis with you then not knowing how much your body needs. Because if you're aware of how much your body needs, ta-da, you can pretty much basically shut off, and you can basically shut off the possibility of gaining weight entirely. So that myth is busted. Next one is fruits and veggies are free foods. So this one is one that I've heard thrown around quite a lot, and something that I actually used to believe myself in the good old days. So what this refers to is that fruits and vegetables are foods that you can consume a lot of because they're so nutrient dense. So yes, this sounds cool in theory, but understand that, I don't know if you've ever entered foods like that in MyFitnessPal, but all of these have got calories and units of energy that the body uses. So if you're eating normally, but then you're eating this truckload of fruit and veg, obviously awesome, yes, you're getting lots of nutrients, but if all this eating of fruits and vegetables is causing you to be in a caloric surplus, you're going to gain weight and you will not lose body fat. It's as simple as that. You got to understand that there are certain fruits and vegetables that have very, very, very low calorie intake. So yes, obviously if you're only having a very small amount of them, awesome, you could probably get away with not tracking them at all and know that you're not going to gain weight at all. But if you have this paradigm that all fruits and vegetables can be consumed in copious quantities, kind of like, you know, like you've got a kind of like a golden ticket or whatever, like in Willy Wonka. If this is the case, understand that this is going to set you up for likely weight gain, and then you're left wondering why. Okay, so that myth is busted. Let's see you on the next one. The next one is that you can turn fat into muscle through your style of training. Understand this is not true in any capacity whatsoever. Your body has got muscle, your body has got fat, then it's obviously got all its organs and skeletal mass and stuff like that. Understand that unless you're Chris Angel, you cannot turn fat into muscle. It's two separate things entirely, all right? So what you understand is that the only way that you can actually improve your composition in terms of your aesthetics in working towards becoming tight and toned is simply having your nutrition on point, having your training on point, and having your mindset on point to back up the consistency and habits that you're trying to make. And in doing so, this is what's going to allow you to get tight and toned in the way that you want to, because thinking that you can actually turn muscle into fat is just ridiculous. All you can actually do is either be eating and training in a way that causes you to gain muscle and reduce the amount of fat that you have, or the other side of things, which is to just maintain the muscle that you have and decrease the amount of fat that's surrounding it so that you appear tight and toned how you want to. But to think that you can turn muscle into fat is just ridiculous. Myth busted. The next one is that detoxes are legitimate and should be done regularly for optimal health. It seems that today's day and age, people are getting stuck into detoxes so often. And obviously, yes, the whole theory behind it sounds great. It's going to flush out your toxins, it's going to cleanse out your liver, it's going to fill you up with energy, it's going to get you back on point again, whatever, all this sort of stuff. Yes, that's great, but understand that your body actually naturally detoxifies itself almost on a daily basis. So in other words, usually where I find people get on detoxes is because they've had a massive binge fest on the weekend, or they've absolutely hammered themselves with booze and fast food and stuff like that. So they get on board detoxes to be able to then make themselves feel better about themselves and flush out their insides. But you know, in terms of just realistically speaking, you don't need to be doing stuff like that. Because as I said before, your body has a natural detoxifying system in place that basically does that for you. What is going to be better instead, even more, is to not put your body through that rigmarole of just getting absolutely blasted and hammering fast food on a regular basis, but instead include booze and fast food on a regular basis if you'd like to, but while actually getting in enough nutrients, vitamins and minerals and overall food intake to prevent that want and desire to need to binge and let loose like that, because all that's going to do is just set up you in a cycle, if that's what you're currently doing, where you go through that phase of just restrict during the week, you know, you're trying to hustle, but then weekend absolutely let loose and hammer yourself and whatever, feeling guilty, and therefore repeating the cycle again. So that debunks that myth busted. One is that cardio is the best way to lose body fat. Understand, this is something that is not true in any capacity whatsoever. Cardio, yes, can be used here and there and sparingly to increase your rate of fat loss, but understand that I say that pretty loosely, in the way that your body is so efficient that it is consistently working against the stuff that you're doing to basically keep it safe. So if you are someone that's hustling a lot within, say, group classes and hammering the treadmill and the Stairmaster, the bike or the rower, well, that's cool, but understand that your body is going to start burning less and less and less energy if you continue to only do that sort of activity. The reason being there is because, as I touched on earlier on in this video, your body is an efficiency machine. It hates change. It just wants to become really good at doing the stuff that you're doing, so it can burn less and less energy doing those tasks. So when it comes to, say for example, your training program being focused on a lot of cardio, all this is going to do is, yes, in the startup sort of stages, yes, you'll be smashing it, you'll probably be dropping kgs left, right and center, but as your body accustoms to this, it will then start burning less and less and less energy. And then when this happens, this means the only way that you can continue to get results from it is by basically investing more and more time. In other words, by doing more sessions or making the sessions that you are doing last longer. And obviously that's a huge bummer. Yeah, it's a massive bummer. And from your perspective, that just means putting in more and more and more effort, but not necessarily getting any sort of return instead. Okay, so in other words, as you go along, your body's burning less and less and less energy doing that same activity. So it requires more and more time investment if you're focusing on doing lots of cardio. A better alternative is to have a progressive overload structure in place from your training and weight training in the gym. And by that I mean overall across the week you're lifting a certain amount of kilos. Your goal is to improve that for the following week and then improve that from the following week. And that's easy in the way that, it's not easy, but it's simple when you have a proper structure in place. Because let's say for example that you become really good at squatting and you can maybe squat like 50 kilos for 8 reps, you know, awesome. What you would then do is when you become efficient at that, you then bump it up to 55 kilos for 8 reps, you know, and like you continue that sort of process, but within all of the exercises. So as you get stronger and fitter, you bump up the weight, but then what this means, which is really cool, is that it doesn't require more of a time investment. You only need to invest probably about 3 to 5, maybe 6 hours at the gym across the span of the week. But then there's all this room for growth and for increasing your fitness and for getting better in the gym without requiring more of a time investment. A much better way to go about fat loss, as you can see, is weight training, not cardio. Next one is that your metabolism slows naturally as you age. Understand that the only reason why your metabolism will ever drop is if you give it a reason to. Okay, in other words, if you get slack, or if you become complacent, or if you, just aren't progressing in your nutrition and your training as you should, this is then when your body will, when your metabolism will start to slow down because you gave it a reason to. Understand though that if you don't give it a reason to, it will continue to stay on point. It will continue to stay strong, and then in doing so, this means is that you'll be able to increase your chances of staying lean far easier into the long run. All right, awesome scenario, because your metabolism dictates how much energy your body burns at rest. So obviously if you're hammering it out in this sort of way, where you are consistently focused on personal progression and stuff each week as you are, becoming more and more of an advanced trainee, this then means that your metabolism is going to stay strong and primed for years to come into the future. So happy days for those of you that have got structure, but understand that if you are being lazy and you're already noticing that your metabolism is starting to drop, boom, there we go. Make sure that you start getting your shit together and don't let this pan out any longer. What is that? Starvation mode exists. Understand this is not the case. The only thing that does exist to an extent is deprivation mode, which is where your body starts to let go of fuel reserves to cater for the restrictive, crazy environment that you put yourself in. But understand though that the whole starvation mode theory is just bro science. What I'd suggest instead though, once again, is to focus and be aware of how much food your body requires daily, and please do your best to meet it daily, because in doing so, this will then prevent anything like deprivation or whatever kicking in. It will allow your body to stay fueled, to stay primed, and to stay active and on point, so that you can therefore chase the holy grail that is fat loss, and therefore build an awesome body for yourself while keeping your health 100% on point. Is that muscle weighs more than fat? This is something that I've heard a lot, and understand this is complete bro science as well. Muscle does not weigh more than fat, okay? Muscle is just more dense. So if you put them up against each other, a kilo of muscle versus a kilo of fat, yes, one will be bigger than the other, okay? But, a kilo of something is a kilo of something, all right? Muscle does not weigh more than fat. It is just more dense. Next one is that you can eat whatever you want as long as you exercise frequently. This one here is kind of, it's a bit hit and miss, but understand though that just because you exercise heaps isn't a free ticket to, limitless sort of Sizzler style eating or whatever. Understand that exercise is only 20% responsible for your results, meaning that if your nutrition isn't on point, it's going to make it very hard for you to be able to build the tight and toned aesthetics that you actually want, okay? So an example of this is Michael Phelps, okay? He's someone that is a kick-ass Olympic swimmer, and he obviously exercises a truckload, yeah? But he doesn't just eat absolutely whatever he wants in terms of quantities and whatever. He's aware how much his body needs, and I'm pretty sure at the moment it's like 12,000 calories or something ridiculous. But the reason why he's eating that much is because he consistently exercises as much as he does. So therefore he has a marriage between the two of them, okay? Gets it on point, and in doing so, it means that his body isn't going to burn out. It means that he can perform at the level that he wants to, and therefore create optimal results and perform like an absolute boss. But if you think that just because you exercise often and you hammer out a heap of group classes each week, and you hit the gym, whatever, understand that this is never going to be the case where you can just eat as much as you want, all right? Quantity matters so much more than the quality of your food, and in doing so also, nutrition matters so much more than your exercise. So getting this balance right will enable you to chase the holy grail that is fat loss glory, and keep you in that awesome health perspective as well. Myth busted. The next one is don't lift heavy if you're trying to lose weight. This is once again another misconception that I see floating around, which is people thinking that you need to lift very lightly and hammer out truckloads of cardio to be able to lose weight properly and in a way that enables you to have consistency and long-term longevity in check. This could not be the case whatsoever. If anything, what's going to be most beneficial if you are someone that is very overweight or just needs to lose weight in general is getting on board a consistent weight training routine. If you're starting out maybe 3 times per week at the gym, and then going for just nice fun walks or whatever as part of, if you must do cardio, to be able to actually keep yourself in that mobile state and therefore look after your body properly. Because the idea is that it needs to be sustainable in the short term, and in the long run for you as you progress your training and move yourself forward to become more of a seasoned advanced trainee. Because in doing so, this will then get you to that stage where exercise is just part of who you are. You've built that discipline, and therefore you can do it without thinking about it. It no longer is a chore, and therefore you've gotten to that stage where it's just part of who you are, and you can rock it, you can smash it, and therefore you're enjoying it 110%. Once again, remember that when it comes to exercise, it's weight training that matters far more than what cardio can, because the body adapts to cardio and these sort of activities very effectively and efficiently, meaning that you're going to have to increase and input more and more time to try and get results from the cardio that you're doing. Myth busted. There we go. Look at that, a whole dose of knowledge bombs. It was so much fun being able to bust each of those, and I hope that you were able to specifically relate and resonate with some of those particularly. All right, what I'd love for you to do, please, if you found any of these valuable or you want some more insight into some of the myths that I busted, please feel free to comment below. Let's keep the conversation going, and I can show some more love to you and give you some more clarity and certainty yourself. And if you found that by listening to these knowledge bombs that it's kind of just made you go, oh, far out, there's so much I don't know, like, oh, it's just blowing my mind. If this is you to any sort of extent, what I'd love for you to do is, hey, please don't feel that you need to continue doing this journey alone. What I'd love for you to do is to click below, get in touch with me for a Dream Body Breakthrough call, and you and myself will speak one-to-one. I'll ask some questions about your journey and work out if and how I can help. If I can, awesome, I'll pinpoint the problems that's going on within your journey, and we'll be able to piece together an awesome plan that will move you forward towards success and results. If I feel that I can't, well then, hey, I'll still figure out a way to try and point you in the right direction so that you can create wins and get you moving forward from where you are towards where you want to be. I really hope you found this video valuable. Please feel free, if you haven't done so yet, to subscribe to the Boss Fitness YouTube channel, and stay tuned for the second edition of this Mythbusters series, where I'm going to be dropping some more knowledge bombs and showing you some more Angus love. Thank you so much for tuning in. Angus signing out.